This is television for the Isles of Scilly, brought to you with Worldwide Financial Planning, Truro and Penwith College, and the Scilly Lottery. From Radio Scilly, this is scillytv.com. A pub with no beer, a pub with no food, a pub with no electricity. That was the straw that broke the camel's back after creditors chased Mark Twynham. The pub had to shut up shop. Mark is now preparing to reopen the Bishop and Wolf for St Austell Brewery, who've taken back control of the business. He caught up with Radio Scilly to explain what happened, to give a warning to other people in business of what could potentially happen to them, and to talk about one of his worst business experiences openly and frankly.
We had no choice really. The power company, Scottish and Power, come over on Wednesday last and said I've got a warrant to turn the electric off, and unless you can come up with a big figure, then they will turn it off. And there was no way we could come up with a figure at the time. St Austell tried and we tried to negotiate, but they wouldn't have it, and so they turned the electric off, and that was the end of that really. And now St Austell are in negotiations to turn it back on again. Well, it actually stems back to January 2007, which is nearly 2 years before my time. What happened was when you come into a new business with St Austell, they employ a electric consultancy company, to act on your behalf to get you the best deal that they can to sort of electricity supplier. So when we took over in November 2008, they come in and said to me, here's your new supply, you're now with Haven Electricity, sign this bit of paper and that's who your new electricity supply will be with. So no problem, signed away, and off we went. A few months later I had Scottish Power come in and said, can we read the meter? I said, I'm not with Scottish Power anymore, I'm with Haven Company, is the contract, no problem. They said, okay, we'll leave you alone. And a few more months went by, and the same happened again. And eventually, in June 2010, Scottish Power said, can we have another look at the paperwork? And I had a look at the paperwork and realised that the electricity meter that's on the outside of the building is actually the second meter, and there are 2 meters. There is another meter which is stuck with all the other electrical equipment right under the stairs at the other end. And they didn't know it was there, we didn't know it was there. And so when they read it, it hadn't been read since January 2007. So basically there was electrical usage for then, and because that nobody had signed contracts and rates, that you are then on a deemed contract, they call it, and they can charge you top rate. So all of a sudden there's electric bill comes in for a massive amount of money, which probably 2/3 is not mine, 1/3 probably is mine, which they say you either pay it or we turn you off. And it went on and on and on, and in the end the negotiating went down to, I said, look, I'm not paying it until it's sorted, and then eventually come down to nobody would give way, so they said, right, we're turning it off. So it's now in the hands of St Austell. So basically that's where it all come from. The other meter is actually the first meter which was transferred over is actually for the staff block and the kitchen upstairs. That is on we've found out since that's on a totally separate meter. And that's run the staff block. That's why the staff block's still got electricity, because there's nothing wrong with that one. That's been paid up to date, no problems whatsoever. The main meter for the main building is the one that the problems occurred from. And until we sort it out, they won't switch it on, and that's what St Austell are fighting to do at the moment. Before I took over, there's no responsibility on my shoulders at all, and now they're in the process of chasing the people that was in before me, to chase them for the electricity bill that would be theirs. And they're billing me, or they tried to bill me for the 12 months after that, which is fair enough, but they were charging at such extortionate rates. I rung the Citizens Advice Bureau to get advice, and they put me on to Consumer Direct, who were absolutely brilliant, and got on to them and said, look, this is outrageous, the rates you're charging are astronomical, and you need to do a deal. We was in the process of doing a deal at the time when they said enough's enough, and then they cut it off, and so there's no deal being done at all now, and at the end of the day they probably won't have any of it at all. It wasn't just electricity, we'd been having problems before that. When I come into the business in 2008, I never had any capital to come in with, and people won't know this, but people that are in the business, when you come into a St Austell tenancy, you have to buy all the fixture and fittings and put bonds down and buy all the stock and everything like that. And originally I was going to work for Jamie Lefrec and run the business for him. And obviously everybody knows he went bust, and St also said, will you take over the business? So I did. And because I didn't have any capital to come in at the time, they said, oh, you can pay the fixture and fittings and the stock and the bond off over the next few months, if that's okay. I said, yeah, no problem. So we did a deal. And when you get so many bills like that and you pay it off so quickly, I was a bit silly really and paid it off too quickly. So we paid all that off, and in the interim period there wasn't enough money in the pot to keep up with the council rates, because the rates are quite high in this building, and other bits and pieces, and all of a sudden you start using your sort of suppliers as a bank, really. You start using them and paying off the minimum, and then it comes to a time when all of a sudden, especially in the winter where there's no income coming in, and the suppliers start shouting that there's no money there to pay them. And in the end, the worry and the stress of it was getting too much. So me and Sarah sat down and said, right, let's have a chat with somebody. And we rang up the Citizens Advice Bureau, and they put us onto the business debt line, who insured us of all the bits and details what we could do. And they were absolutely brilliant. I sat there with my accountant, Steve Gibson, and he was absolutely brilliant with me. He's been a star, he has. He's been by my side all the way. And they talked us through the process and everything like that, and there was either two ways we could go. We either could go down the IVA route, which is an involuntary thing, where they wipe a lot of debt off, but and all sorts. It's a long to go into, but we could have gone down that route, or we go down on the bankruptcy route. And because I'm a sole trader, that means I go bankrupt, and not Sarah. It's me that's going bankrupt. The Bishop and Wolf account is going bankrupt. And they will take my equity to pay off what I owe, and we will go to court on the 1st of March, file for bankruptcy, and I will be deemed bankrupt from that date then. It's a fair old whack of money. I mean, we're talking thousands rather than hundreds of pounds, and so basically we had to call the bankruptcy courts in, and that's why I'm doing it. Everybody on Scilly that I owe money to has been paid, and there's no debt on Scilly. We've got no debt on Scilly whatsoever. The only debt we've got are with main suppliers on the mainland and the local council. We do owe the local council rates, and they will get that eventually. It's going to take time, obviously, until the house is sold, but eventually they will get paid. But everybody else on the islands, all the debt's been paid now. I paid my last debtors today. All the staff have been looked after. St also have been brilliant with that. They've helped me out and finished off all the holidays and everything like that, and they will be re-employed as employees of St Austell on the day of opening. And but I must say the support from the islands has been overwhelming. I think I get more emotional about the people stopping me and speaking to me and having chats with me, and it's a really lovely feeling that when you're in trouble and the islanders come out and speak to you, you realise just what these islands are like and how special they are. Over the last 6 months it's been really hard, and there's quite a few times I would have quite happily just shut the door and got on the helicopter with the missus and kids and gone and not looked back. But then what I can say is, since I spoke to people, and you ring the Citizens Advice Bureau and you speak to professionals that deal with this all the time, it makes life a lot easier, and you see things in a different light altogether. And all I can say is, if it weren't for them people, my life would probably be a lot different to what it is now. It's getting better slowly. The pressure's gone off of me. What's happened's happened, and I feel sorry for what's happened. But at the end of the day, if it weren't for these people with the professional advice, things could have been a lot worse. But now we spoke to them, and we're going in the right direction. Things are looking up, looking a bit better for the future, looking much better for the future for me and Sarah and the kids, and at the end of the day, it will get better. Listen, at the end of the day, on these islands, you have friends, you have enemies, and everybody who lives on these islands knows that. The one thing I can say is, I've got my wife, I've got my kids, I'm going to be able to stay on the islands, and I've got a lot of friends, and I've realised that in the last few days, and the support has been overwhelming. There's bound to be a few people that probably sat there laughing in the front rooms at what's happened, and if that's the way they want to deal with it, then I can't help that. That's the way they feel. But I can tell you now, the people I've met on the streets and the people that ring us up and sent text messages, it's been overwhelming, and I've been absolutely gobsmacked with the support we've had. And all I can say is I'm glad I live on these islands now.